BYD. Have y'all ever heard of BYD? BYD, and this is why I can't stand Americans. Let me say that right away. This is one of the main reasons why I can't stand the Americanas. You know why I can't stand Americanas? Huh? Because y'all sat here and y'all rejected me. You rejected my theory. You rejected my pleas. You rejected the idea that electric cars were going to come, whether you like them or not, and they're being embraced worldwide. And I said, listen, the Tesla Model Y is the top selling vehicle in this particular quarter worldwide. And y'all said, no, you're lying. That's not true. It's going to be the F-150. No, the F-150 is the top selling one in America. But guess what? We're on a worldwide stage. Nobody cares only what you think inside of the United States of the Americas. Okay? We're on a worldwide stage. And though these automakers here inside of the United States of America, they continue to reject innovation, Chinese electric car companies like BYD, I believe that stands for Build Your Dreams. I don't remember what it stands for. They're taking over the world, including Tesla. Check it out. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. And what we really need to be discussing is there an investment opportunity here? Because it's not about how you feel. It's more or less about how you can make money from it. Let's go on.
It likes to describe itself as
the biggest car brand you've never heard of.
Now, China's BYD has overtaken Tesla as the world's largest seller of electric vehicles. Even if you've never heard of BYD, there's a chance you've been in one of its buses.
Did y'all know that BYD was selling buses over to Los Angeles? A Chinese electric vehicle motor company is selling buses worldwide, and they're leveraging their technology to innovate faster while we sit here and we trying to reject change that we already know is going to happen. We already know that change is happening. And so you're going to be playing catch up in the same way that they playing catch up to a lot of these other automakers already. And they've already innovated themselves, and they're coming here to the United States of America. Listen. You have not really seen them on your streets, but I'm telling you that they're coming. BYD is absolutely positively on my watch list, and we're going to talk about it in the stock club that we're going to go into over the weekend. BYD is absolutely one of my sleepers, and I think that they are going to be a massive hit, and I could be wrong. But I believe, based off of my studies and understandings of the automotive industry, and especially when it comes to innovation, I believe that they are going to be at the forefront of whatever this electric car movement is worldwide. Not just locally, worldwide.
Taxis prowl the streets of some of the world's biggest cities. But buses and taxis aren't the reason why BYD has overtaken Tesla. Instead, it's a fruit of long-term strategic thinking on the part of BYD itself and the Chinese government. And it's setting China up to be the dominant global player in the transportation of the future. Electric vehicles, a business that could be worth $8.8 trillion by the end of the decade.
$8.8 trillion by the end of the decade. Y'all gonna ignore that? $8.8 trillion by the end of the decade. We ignoring that? Okay.
Most important things that have made BYD the king of EVs. The Chinese government...
We're going to debate it, Yakar, inside of the Patreon on this weekend. I want all pushback. I want all of that because we need to figure out where we need to be investing our money.
...has played a huge role in BYD's rise.
We've arguably never seen anything like this in terms of, the amount of support that China has extended to automakers, specifically pertaining to EVs.
Beijing has given an estimated $30 billion of tax exemptions to the industry since 2010 and may waive a further $97 billion by 2027.
China actually takes a carrot and stick approach. They set mandatory EV output targets for automakers, but they also offer cheaper loans and cheaper land and R&D subsidies to all those EV makers.
And BYD has been a massive beneficiary of that. It still sells most of its electric vehicles in its home market. But of course, Tesla has also benefited from Chinese subsidies, which is where the second reason for BYD's rise comes in.
And it's funny because Tesla is one of the very few automakers and companies at all. Tesla is one of the very few automakers and companies at all that's been able to somehow, some way, and I have no clue how Elon Musk did it, but somehow, some way has convinced the federal government and China to allow them to do business without outsourcing proprietary technology. So basically, they didn't have to partner with a Chinese company and then get all of their innovations stolen, like most other automakers and most other manufacturers. They was able to stay a standalone company and be able to sell their vehicles over in China. So it's truly a global marketplace.
Most of BYD's cars are simply a lot cheaper than Tesla's. In fact, it sells 10 popular models starting from less than Tesla's cheapest offering for the Model 3 sedan. And BYD sells a lot more of the cheaper vehicles in its lineup.
They have very cheap models starting from $10,000 US.
Their approach has been extremely different in the sense that Elon Musk believed that you had to sort of start from the high end with a sexy performance car to get people interested in electric cars and then work your way down the price spectrum. BYD went at it from the other end, where it was about cheap taxis and buses that needed a heck of a lot of batteries, and really sort of drove down the prices of the batteries that they could put into passenger cars.
While the average price paid for a Tesla is about $45,000, the average BYD sells for roughly half that.
And that's the thing that they're going to get you with, because that's the thing that got y'all hooked into a lot of these Japanese and Korean automakers from the very beginning. So the European automakers is a little bit different, right? But when we talk about the most profitable automakers inside of the United States of America and the ones that's gaining steam, Hyundai and Kia did a very similar thing with Genesis. Now people are starting to look at the Genesis brand and they saying, man, they're offering way more luxury than the other automakers that's in the luxury space. Because what they did was they drove down the cost of luxury and batteries and so on and so forth in order to be able to extend it into other vehicles that then made them a lot more profitable than U.S. automakers and Europeans. And so Europeans is largely dependent on the name brand and the recognition and whether or not you still like them and the cachet around Germany and all of that. And you know, Mercedes-Benz and Italia and all of this stuff. When in reality, when you start to suffer or when you start to think about the amount of technology you get for your dollar, that is one of the reasons why people choose to then take a chance on you, is because it's the most affordable option and then they grow with the brand. See, the thing that made United States automakers successful from the beginning is that they created a halo project that you can aspire to, but they always made it affordable for you to be able to become an entry or become an entrant in their brand. And then people became brand loyal. And what we used to see with automakers is very similar to what we see with phones today. Usually when somebody pick a phone company, which is why they feel like the market is mature here and they just trying to keep the people that they have instead of stealing the market share over from people that already chose a phone brand or manufacturer. If you want an iPhone, it's a strong possibility that you're never going to give up an iPhone. If you want an Android, it's a strong possibility that you're never going to give up an Android. You may try it. You may look at a feature. You may consider it. If your work, your work get it from you. But usually you tend to stay brand loyal. And your kids do the same thing because your kids are dependent on you in order to get the phone that they need. And so you basically extend your own preferences over to them, and that's why they then stick with it. But they may be influenced by what happens inside of their school, or all of their friends may have an iPhone, so they may switch up. But in a general sense, they're looking for you to influence and sell over to the people, and that's why one of the reasons why banks don't even have to market homes anymore, because people are marketing it for them, and they're saying, hey, you need to buy a home and get a 30-year mortgage and all of that. Banks don't have to pitch that. They don't run commercials for that. They don't have to run commercials for it anymore. And it's similar to what it used to be inside of the auto industry, is that you created a halo product, and that's the car that you really wanted. I mean, back in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, if you wanted that Mustang or you wanted that Corvette or that Cadillac or that Lincoln, and instead you got you a Ford, a Chrysler, or a GM, and then you remain brand loyal. Guys that usually got pickup trucks from Ford stuck with Ford. People that roll with Mopar stuck with Mopar. People that love Chevys, they love Chevys. And so people used to be brand loyal, but they aren't anymore, which then created a space for Japanese automakers to then infiltrate because people wanted to pay attention to price, and they were tired of being taken advantage of based off of the fact that you was just brand loyal, so they didn't feel like they had to do anything to continue to innovate. And now Chinese cars are coming to the United States of America. Do not think for even 1 second that the government is going to ban them. Man, are you out of your mind? Don't you know that one of the top real estate purchasers inside of the United States of America is a Chinese man that's not even from here? What, you think that money don't talk? You think that we loyal? Why you think we opening up our borders? Oh, they going to be banning inside of the United States of America. Bull crap.
That, of course, raises the question, how can they sell them so cheaply? The secret to that price tag lies in what is known as vertical integration.
Our vertical integration capability gives us the flexibility in the fast response to the market trend, as well as the better support for brand developing and customer service.
That's a fancy way of saying that they make a lot of the things that go into their vehicles themselves.
Car makers usually buy most components from suppliers such as Bosch, Continental, and Aptiv.
Which is a similar method to what the United States, and let me tell you what the difference is between United States automakers and what the Chinese automakers are saying right here, right? One of the differences is when the United States of America's automakers, Ford, Stellantis, General Motors, they had to outsource everything in order to keep costs down to remain competitive as far as what they were paying for research and development and UAW members in order to continue to manufacture inside of the United States of America. Because United States of America residents, Americans, are not brand loyal. They only care about what serves them best and what get them some box. That's just a fact. And so when Bill Clinton made it available for y'all to be able to do business outside of the United States, and then we had the North America Free Trade Agreement, what happened was we started outsourcing everything in order to keep costs down. Well, what happened once you started having problems in a pandemic and a recession, and you're trying to control costs because you can't anymore, and you're trying to control supplier problems, and now you don't have to manufacture as many parts anymore because we now innovated enough to where we can lower the cost of doing business and we can pass that over into the consumer. Well, now we're racing to try to bring everything in-house, but they can't. You know why? Because when they tried to open up a battery manufacturing plant, the UAW went over there and they said, we want to unionize them too, and they should be making $42 an hour. So you can't compete with what they doing because they're building everything in-house and they don't have to worry about unions. They don't have to worry about outsourcing. They can control everything within, whereas American automakers can't do the same thing, so they can't compete at the same level. They have to depend on you to support them, which we know that Americans are not brand loyal when it comes to their manufacturers being American. Y'all don't even look at Tesla as an American company. It is an American manufacturer. They able to basically sell their cars cheaper than the cheapest electric car over here. Worldwide. And remember, this is a worldwide market. They're able to keep costs down and keep their cars cheaper than anywhere else, basically selling it for half. They selling an average car at about $22,000. They selling it for half. And so while you think that you're competing against billionaires and you saying eat the rich, they competing against you and they taking up market share. And they've already overtaken Tesla.
Volkswagen, for instance, only makes 35% of the parts in its ID.3 electric car. Tesla, meanwhile, makes 68% of the parts that go into its Model 3 made in the US. BYD makes 75% of the parts that go into the Seal, its flagship model.
The most important factor is that BYD is the only automaker that produces all of its batteries in-house.
That was hugely important during the pandemic when the supply chains were just absolutely in a state of chaos for the industry. The fact that BYD was in control of its own destiny gave them a huge leg up over the rest of the industry. And especially as it pertains to batteries. This is a company that has been in the battery space since the 1990s.
BYD actually stands for Build Your Dreams. It started out in 1995 as a battery company. They make rechargeable batteries for mobile phones and other electronics products. And then the company got into the auto business in 2003.
Making its own batteries and other components helps it reduce a lot of costs. That's attracted some big-name investors.
Call it the continued BYD promotional roadshow,
and anything that Warren Buffett gets involved in, I want to know what's going on. Anything that Berkshire Hathaway is the investment vehicle by which Warren Buffett does most of his investments, and Charlie Munger rests his soul, and they've already picked successors and stuff like that. Based off of that, that then means that I need to pay attention to it, because if it's good enough for Warren Buffett, then it's absolutely good enough for me.
Investor Warren Buffett brought his buddy Bill Gates along for the ride here in Beijing.
It was fantastic. I'm amazed at the quality of that vehicle.
Warren Buffett was one of the biggest early investors in BYD through his holding company, Berkshire Hathaway. And the battery technology might also give BYD a technological edge over some rivals. It uses lithium iron phosphate, which is not only cheaper than other batteries, it's also packaged a lot more compactly. And chemistry is a core expertise of founder Wang Chongfu.
He's sort of the anti-Elon Musk. Wang is a chemist by training and an engineer, and an anecdote that one of our reporters was told was that when he was told he needed to dress up a bit for an investor meeting, he stopped to buy shirts just sort of off the street. And so he's far from one of the flashier executives in the auto industry.
比亚迪在这个电池和整车这个试验方面，我们一直做的比较领先。
One thing I will give Elon Musk that people don't give him credit for is his ability to be able to market. Elon Musk completely changed the game because he became the face of Tesla, which then eliminated their idea behind having to market their products. Similar to how Steve Jobs was the face of Apple, and they didn't even have to run ads anymore because people promoted their products based off of the fact that they loved Elon. And Elon basically even eliminated the idea of having to have a PR department or a staff that does marketing, because all he had to do was hit Twitter and talk about it, and then people absolutely went crazy over it. And so that was the marketing. But at the same time, one of the things that I even worry about with regard to Tesla is what happens if Elon Musk is no longer at the helm, or if anything ever happens to Elon Musk. Do they have a succession plan? And are they too interdependent on him and his marketing in order to continue to be successful? But ultimately, the world is changing. The world is going to continue to innovate. And either you can get with it or you're going to fall behind it. And I'm telling you that this is coming faster. You may not like it, but when we're talking about our investments and our dollars, we have to be very, very careful understanding that the money talks and the BS walks, all right?